Hello everyone, I hope you're well. Today's video is going to be a book review video and it's going to be a review of this book. This is The Mothers by Brit Bennett. First up I'm going to give you the plot and then I'm going to give you my thoughts and feelings on it. So this is about, it starts and we're following the main character Nadia. Nadia is 17 years old, her mother has just committed suicide. She lives with her father and it's just her and her father left, she has no siblings. She then starts dating the pastor's son and she's known him all her life but they've never really connected that much, and then they start a sexual relationship, but it's something that's kept undercover because he's 21 years old and she's 17, so he doesn't want to date her publicly. So she's dating him but she's very much dating her pain away because her mum's just committed suicide and she doesn't know why her mum's killed herself. She's living with her dad and obviously her dad's grieving, and it's also about the people in her church. So her mum was very religious and her dad's very religious and everyone around them is very religious, and at the beginning of each chapter there is the older women in the congregation giving their opinions on everyone. So they're talking about life and their life, but they're also talking about Nadia Turner, our main character. So it will start like, Nadia Turner, she's a wild one. Oh, she's out of control since her poor mother, you know, killed herself, and her poor father. And then it goes into Nadia's point of view. So before things start, you're kind of told what's happening. So one of them says right at the beginning, I think that Nadia Turner is pregnant. She's 17, she's pregnant, I know, and her mum just committed suicide, and they're all talking about it, and then it goes into that storyline. So Nadia does become pregnant with the preacher's son, but their relationship is very undercover, no one knows they're dating, and they decide that she should have an abortion, and she says, I'm too young. She's also incredibly smart, and she's going to get into this great school, and she's like, I can't have a child now. So they decide that she's going to have an abortion, and then the story really goes on of the aftermath of that. So she goes off to a great prestigious school, and then for some reason, I don't want to spoil it, for some reason she has to come back home and she's always thinking about that abortion. This book is so good, like it is so good. I absolutely adored it and I was like savouring the pages as I was reading it. I loved it. I fell in love with Nadia. Nadia also starts a friendship with this girl called Aubrey, and Aubrey is kind of the opposite of Nadia. So Nadia is seen as this wild girl who, since her mother has died, has gone completely off the rails. She's slept with loads of different boys, she's wild, people think, was she pregnant, was she not, what's going on with that whole situation? And Aubrey is like really nice. No one knows where Aubrey's from. So she just kind of arrived in the church one day out of nowhere. She lives with her sisters, no one knows about her family, and you find about Aubrey's family and what that whole situation was. But she just arrives at the church, just this kind of like mess, and the church help her and she's very like dedicated to the church. And so Nadia and her form this friendship, and it's so interesting because obviously they are opposites but they have a lot in common, because Nadia's mum has killed herself so she no longer has a mother, and then you find out the situation with Aubrey's mother, and Aubrey doesn't live with her mum, she lives with her sister. So they're both motherless and they talk about that, and they connect on that level as well. I absolutely adored the beginning of each chapter when all the older women were talking about Nadia, because it started off in quite a spiteful tone. They were talking about Nadia, like her poor father, all the sympathy was for her dad. His wife's killed herself, and his daughter's wild. Maybe she's got pregnant but she's not pregnant anymore, she's a wild one. And then they gradually become more human, I feel, the older women at the congregation, because they are judging and they are gossiping, but they also say stuff like, we know what it was like to be 17. I know you look at us and you think we're old ladies and we must not understand anything you're going through as a teenager, but we once were 17 and we once caught the eye of the bad boy and wanted to date him, but we didn't, we were pulled away from him, so we once were Nadia Turner in a sense, which is so interesting because it starts off, the way they're talking about her is so spiteful and venomous that you're like, oh god, they're completely different from her, they can't understand her pain at all. And then they're kind of like, no, we can understand it all too well, we can understand that pain. Like, I adored this book, I cannot recommend it enough. The writing is stunning, it's beautiful, and I also think it says a lot about, a lot of people who are anti-abortion say, oh, women just have abortions, they don't even think about it, it's like going shopping to them, they'll just have an abortion and whatever, they don't think about it. Whereas this is very much how hard a decision to have an abortion is. Even if it's the right decision at the time, how it always plays on your mind and you're always thinking about it and the psychological impact it has on you. And also that Nadia is 17 and she hasn't realised the impact it's going to have on her, that she's always going to be thinking about that baby will be 2 years old now, the baby will be 3 years old, and she thinks in her head that the baby's a boy, and she's like, I'm so stupid because the baby wasn't, you couldn't tell the gender, it was too early, but in her head she's like, I know it was a boy, and how that kind of like haunts her, but it was the right decision at the time. Oh my god, the storyline just goes wild. It's so good, but I'm not going to tell you what happens in the story because that'll spoil it. But I just adored it. From the first page to the last page, I was just soaked up in this story. And she starts off, you know, 17, wild, out of control, trying to sleep with anyone to get her pain away, and then you see her really develop and really become like, she goes to this fantastic school and she's doing really well for herself, and oh, I just loved Nadia so much. And I think also it shows like the complexities of people, so people can look at someone like Nadia like at the beginning of the book and be like, she's completely off the rails, she's wild, like the women in the congregation do. But it's like, yeah, sometimes people have, if they have terrible tragedies, like her mum has committed suicide and she doesn't know why, then they go off the rails. Doesn't mean she's a bad person, but then it also goes back to the thing of like the church and within Christianity of like, are you going to heaven or hell, and everything you do is being judged and damnation is in it. Oh my god, it was so good, like so incredibly good. And if you follow me on Instagram, I've just been talking about this all the time. Like so many pictures of this I've been posting, like, no, halfway through laughing at all, just going on and on and on. So if you follow me on Instagram, you know I love this book. But I thought the writing was stunning. It was like honey on the page. It was just beautiful and rich, and loved it. And I loved all the characters as well and the complexities within them in themselves, because her dad is very, after her mum dies, her mum kind of looked after her, and her dad was a loving dad, but he didn't get that involved with raising her. So when he's stuck with her, this 17-year-old girl, he kind of doesn't know what to do, and you can feel the panic within him and the tension and the complexity of it all, because you could easily hate him and be like, just wrap your arms around her, just love her. But his grieving and how like grief completely changes you as a person, as it does for Nadia. Oh guys, read it. Like honestly, if you read one book in 2019, it's got to be this one, because I know this is going to be my top books of 2019. I just know it. It was just gorgeous. I absolutely adored it. So that is my review of The Mothers. Please go out and read it because it is fantastic, and I will see you again soon for another video.